All right, let's talk about something that's a huge part of doing business internationally: hosting guests for dinner. Now, we all know it's super important for building relationships, but let's be real. It can feel like you're walking through a minefield, right? You're trying so hard to be a great host, but language barriers or cultural differences can lead to some really awkward moments. So, this is your guide to handling those dinners like a pro, with total confidence.
You know that feeling, right? You're sitting there with a really important guest, the conversation just stops, and your brain is going a million miles an hour trying to figure out what to say next. It's a super common fear, but the fix is actually way simpler than you might think. And this right here, this is where so many of us trip up: direct translation. When you try to translate a common saying or a pleasantry word for word from your language into English, it sounds clunky. It doesn't sound natural at all. The real key is to learn the kind of phrases and expressions that native speakers actually use in conversation. That is the one thing that will take you from an awkward pause to a really smooth, genuine connection.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Picture this. Your guest has just walked in. Those first few minutes, that small talk, it's absolutely crucial. It sets the whole tone for the rest of the evening, so you want to get it right.
Now, the most important thing to remember is that this isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. You've got to tailor your approach. I mean, if you know the person pretty well, it's totally fine and actually really nice to ask about their work, their family, things like that. But if this is someone you're just meeting, you want to keep your questions more general. That way you give them some space and you don't come off as being too nosy.
So how do you do this respectfully, especially with someone you maybe haven't seen in a while? Well, it's a pretty simple process. First, you just start really broad. How have you been? Or it's so great to see you. Then you can gently ask a follow-up about work or their family. But the most important part is the last step. You let them decide how much they want to tell you. This shows you're interested, but it also really respects their privacy, because they're in control of the conversation.
All right, let's move on to what is often a real high point of a business dinner: the toast. This is your big chance to publicly honor your guest. And believe me, when you do it right, it can be this incredibly powerful moment that really makes your business relationship even stronger. Now, there are a few golden rules you're going to want to follow. The whole point is to make your guest feel special, not like they're under a spotlight. So keep it short, make sure it's all about them, and hey, a little bit of light, tasteful humor can go a long way. But here's the big don't. If you invite them to say something and they seem a little hesitant, just let it go. Being pushy about it can completely undo all the goodwill you're trying to build.
So what does short and sweet actually mean? Like, what do you say? Well, here are some really great, easy ideas. You can just give a simple, warm welcome, or you can share a quick positive story, an anecdote, about a shared success you had. Or you can mention a recent accomplishment of theirs. Any of these will come across as really sincere and make for a perfect toast.
Okay, so we've broken the ice. You've raised a glass. Now what? Let's talk about wrapping up the evening. How you say goodbye is every bit as important as how you said hello. It's the final thing they'll remember, so you want to leave a great lasting impression.
If you remember one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. This is the #1 rule for ending the night. It's not just a nice little gesture. It shows you genuinely care about them as a person. Calling a car for them, making sure they have a safe ride. I mean, that simple act of thoughtfulness speaks volumes. It leaves this incredibly positive, powerful final memory and shows your respect goes way beyond the boardroom.
Phew. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here, from that first hello to the final goodbye. So let's just boil it all down into a super simple cheat sheet you can just keep in the back of your mind for the next time you're hosting. So let's break it down one last time. When your guest arrives, what's your goal? To make them comfortable. Your key action? Use natural English, not those clunky direct translations. Next, the toast. The goal is to honor them. How do you do it? Keep it short, sweet, and all about them. And finally, departure. Your goal is to show you care, and the #1 key action is making sure they get home safely. See? It's actually pretty simple when you look at it this way. So as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. At the end of the day, it's not about memorizing a bunch of lines. It's about genuine gestures. Maybe it's a perfectly phrased question when they arrive, or a truly heartfelt toast, or just that simple act of making sure they have a ride at the end of the night. So think about it. What's the one thing you're going to do differently to make your next guest feel truly, genuinely welcome?